Climb on in, because every weeknight, the Hub Network's going on a ride with Step by Step. Kids can be many things. They can be nerdy things, covered in food things, covered in feather things, wrenches in their hair things, riding in a convertible in the winter things, thrashing wildly and holding a pig things, or making a duck out of cheese things. There are many levels. Back-to-back episodes of Step by Step. Check your local listings for time and channel on the Hub Network.
Hey, Josh, you awake?
I am now.
Josh, you know what I hope we get for Christmas?
What?
Super Mario All-Stars, or Star Fox, or Jurassic Park.
Since they'll have visions of video games in their heads, Sears is having a sale. Right now through Christmas, these Nintendo and Sega games are at least $10 off the regular price at Sears Funtronics.
Super Mario
All this only at
Mario
Sears.
Kart, NFL
Good night, Kevin.
Sears, you're home for the holidays.
Now is the time of year when all children behave, reindeer fly, and York peppermint patties turn red and green. Get the sensation.
Friday, it's Season's Greetings from TGIF when Urkel spreads Christmas Eve cheer on his snowbound train. Family Matters then.
God bless us, everyone.
Corey rates a holiday classic.
We say,
Boy Meets World and
I got a major Christmas surprise for you.
Don Knotts guest stars on Step by Step. Plus, as Nicole unmasks St. Nick
you scalp Santa?
on Coop.
You ain't getting hit.
It's Season's Greetings from TGIF Friday.
Sitcom, all ye faithful, a Christmas podcast special, where for the fourth time I discuss 25 Christmas sitcom episodes. Please come and listen as we count down to Christmas. You should see Punky Brewster, the Partridges and Benson. Michael J. Fox will return, and for one more year the Fonz will definitely have one last episode with the Fonz.
Dream got broken, seemed like all was lost. What would be the future? Could you pay the cost? You wonder, will there ever be a second time around?
Oh, when the tears are over and the moment has come, say, my Lord, I think I found someone. You know it will be better, 'cause you're putting it together for the second time around.
We got the woman and man,
We got the kids in the play.
only time will tell us.
All these dreams fit under one umbrella. Step by step, day by day, a fresh start over, different hands to play. Deeper we fall, the stronger we stay.
It will be better the second time around.
Step by step.
Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome back to Sitcom, all ye faithful. It's day 22. It's Sunday night. It's December 22nd. Is the 22nd day of Sitcom, all ye faithful. And like many of you, Christmas is a time for friends and family. And I've had enough friends on this show this year, so I thought might be time to bring on a family member. I asked around, I went high and low, and everyone said no. And so then I relied on asking my cousin Brandon if he wanted to join the show. Before I even finished asking, he was like, "Yes, please, yes, yes." Isn't that right, Brandon? Welcome back to Geek Mentality and Sitcom All You Faithful, and tell everyone that I just said is the truth.
Wait a minute, this is Geek Mentality?
Yes.
You told me this was the Joe Rogan experience.
Oh, I'll give you that experience. The only Joe Rogan experience I care about is people eating cockroaches for $50,000.
Thought you were going to say something else there for a moment.
No. I don't know nothing about that. Whenever I see clips, I'm like, why is this being sent to me? Like, oh, this is something you might be interested in. I'm like, no, it's not.
It is kind of fascinating though, his like rise, right? It's
yeah.
All I knew him for years was the guy from News Radio.
That's all I still want to know him as.
And I was like, oh, the guy from News Radio is hosting Fear Factor.
Oh, wait, the guy from News Radio is.
And then all of a sudden,
MMA?
it's like, wait a minute, the guy from Fear Factor, he's on UFC.
Wait, the guy from UFC is interviewing like people.
The guy from UFC has a podcast. Wait, this podcast is the biggest podcast in the world.
The first episode I listened to is the first episode. Wait, the next episode I listened to is the first episode. I was not expecting to go there this year, even though I have talked about him in the past, because last year I did do an episode of News Radio. I thought Brandon would be the perfect person to bring on for the show because he is a podcaster. He did at one point a podcast with me called WrestleFania that he gave up on, and then I pretty much gave up on.
Far from that as soon as possible.
Sure did. Then he had a podcast years ago. Well, wait, let's talk about he has a podcast that he's worked on for years, was quite popular, and he kind of abandoned that too to spend more time with his family, the Metallicast, but it's still
semi-retired,
but I feel like it's not truly over.
I've been putting off for a year now recording a final episode, so it's not truly over yet.
I still want to record a final episode of Maiden Order, which I haven't touched in 4 years. Just say, sorry, guys, and then just close it out. But before he did all that, the first podcast he ever worked on with himself, that doesn't make any sense. The first podcast he ever did was a show called Man Meets World. Yeah. It was a podcast that you can find still right now in wherever podcasts are available, and you can find it on fans.experts.com. It was a podcast all about Boy Meets World. That's why previously I brought him on the show to talk Boy Meets World. I brought him on the show to talk Full House, and I realized he's just the TGIF guy.
That's I am a TGIF guy. You know, that's my childhood. You know, it's like, it's going to be 4 episodes all in Disney World tonight. Sign me up.
Right?
Oh, it's going to be 4 episodes all holiday. Sign me up. Oh, Salem the Cat's appearing in every episode tonight. Sign me up.
It is right in your wheelhouse, like the mid 90s. Today's episode, well, first of all, to talk about today's show, a TGIF show, we're talking season 3, episode 11 of Step by Step Christmas Story, which originally aired December 10th, 1993. Where were you in life on December 10th, 1993, Brandon?
December 10th, 1993. I was maybe in 3rd grade.
Oh my God.
Getting ready to receive some Power Rangers for Christmas.
Wow. So you were just like little Brendan on the show. Except they got rid of him. They couldn't get rid of you.
It was like Tiny Tim.
You were right. Like Tiny Tim. God blesses everyone. You were kind of like lame, just like Tiny Tim.
I had the crutches.
Yeah.
And then I did that one Christmas Eve. Remember, I did that backflip like in Scrooge.
Oh my God, that was incredible.
And everybody said it's a miracle.
You said it's not a miracle. I couldn't think of a good joke. I got halfway there. I'm like, man, I'm not gonna stick the landing on that joke. Boom. I brought it right back. Phew. So December 10th, 1993, I was already dating my wife. And this is to age me. I was a senior in high school and already dating my wife. So at this point, I was like, TGIF, no, thank you. I'm way too cool for that. Let's rent The Lion King and watch that instead. We probably were watching TGIF by then.
I mean, TGIF was appointment viewing. When I was in elementary school, I think I had the best because there was appointment viewing Friday night with TGIF, and then Saturday night you had SNCC.
Oh my God.
Which was appointment viewing.
With all that and Goosebumps?
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Are You Afraid of the Dark? Oops, I apologize. That was the books.
Books were out. The show would later premiere on the Fox Kids Saturday morning lineup. Get it right.
I apologize in advance. Now, what I want to talk about right now is that specific night of December 10th, 1993, because
I was probably watching this.
You probably were watching this. I like to go through all the TV listings of the major networks, which you should know that because you've been obviously listening to Sitcom by 50.
I've been listening, and I remember so well from all my experiences doing this in the past.
Yes, this is the first year I've ever done this. So this part. So so on December 10th, 1993, let's look at the prime time lineup. I actually stole this idea from another podcast called The Retroist, who he always looks at movie listings at the time where he's talking about something, or TV show listings. On NBC, there were two specials that night. There was the Charles Dickens David Copperfield, followed by David Foster's Christmas album. David Foster is a well-known musician and producer. And even then, at this point, 30 years ago, I think he was still too old for Catherine McPhee today, but they're married, which is weird. On Fox were two shows that I wish I watched this show. I feel like it has a cult following. It was a new episode of The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
I remember.
Which was Bruce Campbell. It was a cowboy
I do.
Sci-fi cowboy show. At 9:00, an all-new episode of The X-Files. Titled Eve, so maybe it was a Christmas special. On CBS was the show you were definitely watching. It was Dick Van Dyke in Diagnosis Murder. Vanishing Act Part 1. Ooh, so there'll be a Part 2 next week, followed by a special Kenny Rogers Keep Christmas With You. Oh, I thought I was gonna say Keep Christmas, Keep Christmas. That was a little early. So that was a special, and then followed by a brand new episode of Picket Fences. But none of that compared to what was going on ABC that night. And I want to actually quiz you to see if you remember what these episodes are. But there's one if you know it, well, you'll definitely know it. There was a brand new episode of Family Matters, Christmas is Where the Heart Is, which based on a preview that I play at the beginning of this episode, I guess Urkel gets stuck on a train with people.
I have, if I saw the episode, I'm sure I would remember it.
At 8:30, a brand new episode of Boy Meets World, Santa's Little Helper. Go.
That is an all-time classic episode. I believe 1993, this would have been season 1 of Boy Meets World. Santa's Little Helper would have been the one with, I was always very fond of the B storyline, which was when they're all giving money to pay for Mr. Feeney's Christmas present.
I thought they were going to say his Botox.
And, Sean did not have the money because he loaned money to Corey, who never paid him back. This was kind of the first episode where we got insight into, Sean being poor.
Which was a hilarious side story for his character. And I just want to make sure
parks are funny.
You were not. I did not prompt you. You did not know I was going to ask about this, did you?
No.
You're just that. He's just that good.
It took me a moment, but now the wheels are turning. So there was that storyline, and Corey ended up, giving the money on the down low without Sean knowing. So Sean's name ended up on the Christmas card to Mr. Feeney. So everybody thought that Sean contributed the money. There's also another storyline where Corey tried to give his basketball, his best gift, to Sean. Sean's like, I don't need your charity. So it's really a relationship building episode in the name of the holiday spirit.
Fantastic. And at 9:00 was an all new episode of Step by Step, which is the show we'll be talking about tonight. At 9:30, Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I remember the first episode of Hanging with Mr. Cooper. They were in the Growing Pains house. I don't know if they stayed in that house, but I was like, I don't know if it was the first episode of the first season. Santa's got a brand new bag. followed by a brand new episode of 2020. What a night. What a night of television. It's 97, so we're already, no, 93. So Perfect Strangers is already gone. They moved into that new house and they've moved on. I think it ended with Balky killing Larry and going.
I feel
being
like
deported
I feel like
back to Meepos.
I feel like Boy Meets World, Step by Step, and Hanging with Mr. Cooper were kind of like the next wave of
Yep.
TGIF, and then Boy Meets World lasted all the way to the end when they introduced Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and there were a couple failed ones in there at the tail end that I vaguely remember. Because I was
there's your
watching
new podcast,
it in high school.
TGI Brandon. There's your podcast.
I was really cool in high school, so I'd go on Friday nights and still watch TGIF.
I gotta go. Topenga's on you. So this episode, Step by Step. Did you watch Step by Step all the way through?
So what's funny is I remember watching Step by Step when it was on. It was never, a show that I held on the same level, of course, as Boy Meets World or even like a Full House. And when you said you were doing this episode, I was like, I have no clue, anything about this episode at all.
Me neither.
Then I watched it
and it all came back.
And as I'm watching, I'm like, I have seen this episode multiple times.
You knew exactly what's going to happen.
It all came rushing back to me.
See, I didn't know. So when Frank took that gun, I thought, oh my God, Barney Fife's going to shoot him. If this was nowadays, he would have been shot just for even showing that thing.
That would have been a good one for Darkest episode.
Right, the worst, yeah. In the Darkest episode.
It's a very special episode.
Barney Fife, because it's not Barney Fife.
No,
accidentally unloads his revolver. And then we just follow him the rest of the way. And it's all in black and white. And he's just like, he can't live with himself. His wife's like, it's okay. It was an accident. No, it was just a train set. I was just talking Darkest episode with my buddy Jay.
It's the best idea we never acted on.
It is the best idea we never acted on. And it's still, it will live on in infamy. I mean, there was a
there's like
song.
A teaser trailer out there, right?
There was a theme song, there was a logo, and we never recorded one episode. I think, did we? I don't think we ever did.
No, I remember writing things in my phone, planning out for the first episode.
Yep.
It was going to happen, and then it just never did for one reason or another.
If I can find the theme song, I'm going to play it right now. What a thought! What a thong!
A thong, the thong.
So
the theme song is by Cisco. It's
so we'll find out. Song. I don't know if I didn't find it, then it was just we went straight from me saying I was going to find it to the thong song. But if Perfect. We did find it, then you're welcome, everybody. So this episode opens up with the classic TV trope of the neighborhood Christmas decorating contest that seems to only happen on sitcoms. I've never seen it. And it played a zero part in the story of this episode. It was just there for the beginning, basically just giving, what's his name? What was that cousin's name?
Cody.
Yo, dude, surfer dude, Cody, who was in, I want to say Kickboxer 2. He ended up making Kickboxer movies.
I do remember that actually.
So it just gave him something to do because he was there at the beginning and then at the end. He creates this, big display, lights up his van, almost knocks the power out of the house. And he talks about not just Santa and the sleigh, but also the religious meaning of Christmas with the birth of Jesus. But instead of three wise men, he brings in the three wisest men, Einstein, Lincoln, and
I'm trying to remember. It was Einstein, Lincoln.
Who is?
Alex Trebek.
There.
Yeah.
I'm trying to involve you here. So that does not play in any part. Then we get the wonderful opening with the worst green screen of them on a roller coaster.
So I was thinking about this, right? 80s, early 90s, peak sitcom theme songs.
There is a video out there where it shows this guy who sings this theme song saying so many theme songs, his voice.
Oh, yeah.
And these producers, I think it's Miller Boyette or Miller, it's like they made almost the same type of show with the same theme song.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something comforting about that. It was like, I
Yeah.
know where I'm at. This just feels like TGIF. The house, I thought the house was from I thought it was a Growing Pains house again, or a different house. Like I thought this house was in oh shit, I looked it up too and I couldn't even remember. I just thought it looked like the same set. Oh, the Hogan family. I said, this is the Hogan family house.
But let me ask you this. So this is 1993. Is this like the last like classic sitcom theme song? Because I feel like these theme songs did not last well into the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think theme songs of sitcoms that are in the 2000s. I mean, I guess you got the Big Bang Theory, but
They
I
don't
don't know
really,
if that was that
most
made for
don't
them?
even really have openings anymore.
No. I can't even think of like sitcoms. They have like 10-second clips of a song. But geez,
Well, I guess Friends was a big theme song.
Yeah, there you go.
But that's also a different feel than, the hokey,
that's
like
true. Wait, Friends had the
hokey
was a year
but
later.
But it wasn't that like hokey, sitcom theme
right.
song that lasted for like 15 years, I feel like.
And this had like that beginning where it's like they're doing something and then they stop for a moment so their name could show
with
up
their name,
at the bottom, and like
they would make
on?
a like befuddled face or
And I did notice that Stacey Keenan is the top behind Suzanne Summers and Patrick Duffy. She's next in line because she was the bigger star from My Two Dads. And this is my second time talking Stacey Keenan this year. We had a My Two Dads episode earlier.
The dream.
And she, she matured with me at this point, 93. I think I'm right at the age where I was like, I liked the girls on the show. So it was perfect for that too. Cause I don't know how they were sisters. They didn't look anything alike, but there was that to look at too and enjoy, I guess, as I was gonna say prepubescent, but again, I was a senior in high school. If I was prepubescent at that point, I had to go to see a doctor. But yes, the beginning was it was one of those beginnings that gets made fun of today.
Yeah.
Like on a Adult Swim or something. They make fun of that stuff.
But it's the same type of theme song, they did on Family Matters and like all of them.
Same person, I think, singing too. Same guy. There's some TikTok, I think, or something, some video where it's like they're showing this guy who did this, also did this and this. I was like, oh my God.
And we can't forget though, the little Christmas touches, right?
Oh, yes.
So the very beginning of the episode, when they previewed the theme song, right before the opening, they added some like, jingle bells to it.
Yep.
And then whenever they show the house, you mentioned the house. Whenever they show the house, they have like earliest CGI, but like the Christmas lights and the wreath and the snowman in the yard.
It looks right.
It's Christmas time.
Like I noticed that bad like graphic on the toy store. I was like, yeah, that looked like Microsoft Paint. Windows 3.1.
And every sitcom that's decorated for Christmas is just like wall to wall, like covered.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's like, like 30 stockings on the chimney.
They have that many kids.
Garland and lights everywhere.
What I don't remember is whose kid is who. Like, so Suzanne Summers has.
So I think I do remember this.
The two older daughters and the blonde kid.
Yeah. And then Patrick Duffy had the two that had the oldest
boy.
The oldest boy,
the
JT,
youngest.
I think.
Yep.
Brendan, the dark-haired boy.
And then the girl.
And then the youngest girl.
Yes.
I don't remember what was the I did both their previous, was it the same as Brady Bunch? Were they both?
I don't think well, I don't know. I don't know if they both died. I
remember this coming on. They're like, oh, it's a modern day.
It kind
Brady Bunch.
So okay, I'll give you the premise. Fred Lambert,
Brady Bunch,
a divorced contractor whose wife left him. So she's just that's how you do it. Just leave her. Has 3 children: JT, Al, and Brendan. Alicia. Carol Foster, a widowed salon owner, also has 3 children: Dana,
'Cause
Karen, and Mark.
she would not have tested well with audience if she was divorced.
No, no, no. They can't
But
have that.
you
He
know,
can be divorced.
he can be divorced, but
She's
yeah.
she's with until death do us part. What I do remember is years later, um, Bronson Pinchot came on as like the assistant or at the salon she had in the house, and he wasn't Balky, but he pretty much was. He was like this big French character, Jean-Luc. And they got rid of Brendan. He like
they
in the
murdered
final
him.
season. They brought in a new kid, a little girl. Where is she? Lily Foster, and they just wrote him out of the last season. There was never an explanation. He was just gone. It's like the youngest girl on Family Matters who just disappeared and later showed up in porn. Yeah, which I don't think he did.
They don't make TV shows like they used to, where they just were like, you know what, you spent 7 years with this character,
and now he's gone. Right,
F you.
There'd be a full there'd be something, a long season-long arc of where are they, or like they would remember they replaced Aunt Viv's. They just looked at her like, what? They play into it.
Yeah. Boy Meets World did that with the youngest daughter.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And she like disappeared.
Oh, here we go again.
Came back with the new actress, and they're like, where have you been? She's like, I've been upstairs this whole time.
That is a good answer to the joke. Where have you been? I've been upstairs. That's good. So back to this episode, which we still haven't even touched except for the cold open. It's Christmas time, and Carol, I think because there's so many kids, she wants to save money. She wants everyone to save money. Instead of buying all these gifts, she wants to change it. So we just pull a name out of a hat and everyone gets one gift. And I'm trying to think if I ever did that. Did we do that with our family at the end, or
we did it with our family,
your immediate family, or
one,
or everyone? I forget.
The extended family, like for Christmas Eve, we would do like one gifts per person. I feel like everybody got a name.
I think we did do that. I think, yeah. And then at some point it was just like bye for the aunts and that's it. But then everyone started having kids. It was like, okay, see ya. Have a good life.
Yeah.
You guys were late. I think the first year we sent gifts to like Sarah and Chad and Matt, Sabrina, and then Tammy's cousins in Florida. And I was like, what the hell? What is this? Never mind this. Goodbye, kids. Your parents will take care of you. Best of luck.
And Chad kept them all.
I was like, where did you get that Child World, although that Toys R Us jacket? Because I think Toys R Us was still a thing then.
Child's World. You're really dating yourself there.
Well, I just heard a podcast. That same podcast I was talking about, Retro, as he was reading old flyers. He's like, oh, Child World has a deal. It's like, oh my God. My dad worked there, like before I was born, I think.
I remember.
Yeah. How do you remember? Well, maybe you've heard it. I don't know. So nobody wants to do this gift.
Patrick
gift
Duffy
idea.
is like, the kids are right, because the kids are little like we can't win a gift.
They're crazy for gifts.
Foaming at the mouth,
Yeah.
like gifts, right? And Patrick Duffy's like, these out of control children who are all like nearing 18 years old are right. They need lots of gifts from Santa Claus.
And he completely shuts his wife down. Very respectable.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
whatever.
It's the good old days when you had a man of the house. You know what I'm saying?
Now, little lady. This is not.
That's cute that you used your brain.
Right.
Now we're done.
And literally, we just jump, and Christmas is here. And JT wants his gift. It's midnight, so he comes down. It's officially Christmas. They're like, no.
Which I love that they chose the oldest child.
Right? No.
I'm like,
hey, we're with the little kids.
He's like, 12:01. I get my Christmas gift. And
at this point, you should just be getting gift certificates.
Do you need me to tell Santa Claus? Do you need me to tell Santa Claus how greedy you are?
Right? They play that in because it's
like this kid's like 16 at the youngest.
Oh yeah. He's getting laid.
Probably 23 in real life.
Right. Was I correct? Was he in Baywatch? I think he was the first Hobie. For some reason, I think he was.
I think you might be right, actually.
I shouldn't know that much. but he was.
Well, you're
Yes,
the one
he
who
played
watch
Hobie.
podcast, so
Oh yes, it was called Watch, where I rewatch Baywatch. That's actually what it should be called. Watch. Watch Bay. Where I watch Baywatch with my boo. Watch boo. Whatever. I'm good at naming podcasts, not actually doing them.
We're working on it.
Yeah, I'm 22 days into this podcast, and I'm just at this point. I'm glad I have. It's nice to have someone to talk to. With Eric and Jay and Chris, I wanted to make sure I was fully prepared. I wanted to make sure I was bringing it, and so I didn't want to let them down. With you, I'm like, whatever happens.
Well, for the Baywatch podcast, I have a few episodes I'd like to be on. But I'm
the Ric Flair one.
Yeah, the WCW one.
Yeah.
And then there is one later on with Carmen Electra where she does a strip tease. I will do that one as well. And anyone that has a dangerous jellyfish in it, I'm there for. Because I feel like there are a lot of those.
Because you want, no, I can't even say it. Because you want one of them to pee on you. I said it anyway. I don't care.
The same day you launch your Baywatch podcast, I am just by coincidence launching my Baywatch Nights podcast.
Oh yeah, that was much quicker and much better.
We go into all 5 episodes.
Night Watch. Boom, it writes itself. That was like a regular cop procedural show, and then they're like, screw it, let's make an X-Files.
Yeah.
Which it seems like it should be amazing. It probably is for all the wrong reasons. So step by step, back to that. We jump right to Christmas. JT gets shooed away because it's only after midnight. For some reason, they're both awake. Or maybe they were putting all the gifts downstairs or until Santa's gifts arrive, obviously, kids. So this is when they realize, oh, I don't see the train set. He's like, I thought you'd get this train set. Now, he mentioned earlier that he's doing construction work at a toy store, that he gets a 20% discount at the toy store he's working at. And his son's like, ooh, I'd love a train set from you.
That's how it works for people who renovate places. They get a 20% discount.
But he thought she'd go to the same store.
Yeah.
So they realize, hey, I have the keys. Let's go. And she's like, that's breaking and entering. He goes, no, it's entering with the intention of buying.
Oh, so let me ask you something. How old is Brendan, do you think, in this episode?
So interesting. I could tell you.
Like he's got to be like, I'd guess like 12.
No, really? I don't. Let me see. Where the hell is that little mofo? Why can't I find you in the list? He doesn't have it his own IMDb. I can't, or his own Wikipedia. I can't tell you how old he is.
They erased him once he decided not to do the last season. They erased him.
Oh, he was born in 1984. So he's 9 years old.
Okay. All right.
So he's perfect for the train, which is crazy because I still think of these people as little kids, and I realize he's only 8 years older than me, or 8 years younger than me, which is frightening. Yeah, so he can get a train set.
All right, or can he? I'll allow it. I mean,
but his parents.
When I was 9, I wanted Playboys and crack cocaine for Christmas, but I'll allow it.
But the reason you wanted it is because you got it and you got accustomed to it and you loved it. So they go down to the toy store together because he's like, well, I'm going. You can do the stocking stuffers. She didn't buy any stocking stuffers. So they're both, kind of screwing up for their privileged children.
At Christmas.
There's a ton of gifts there, but they're both horrible parents. So they break into the world's worst toy store. It looks like.
Is it breaking in if you have a key?
Okay. They enter with intention of purchasing, intention of buying the worst set decorated toy store. It looks like they spent 20 minutes on this. It looks like they had a video store. They're like, quick, let's take all the VHSs off the wall. Let's put a couple toys on the shelf. Make sure the trains are right next to them, and let's do this.
It would have been easier to actually make it look like it's being renovated and put like those plastic sheets up.
Yeah, something. It didn't look like it was being renovated either. I'm like, is he almost done? Is this the job he's done? And they are about to leave. So he goes, oh, this toy gun will be nice. Let me put it in my gun belt, in my belt.
Right, as one does.
And I'm like, this is this is and by the way, those guns, I remember, yeah, at some point they had to make them bright orange.
It
They had
became
the
like a
tips.
law, right?
Yeah. I had a friggin' it was called the Entertech, and it looked like an Uzi submachine gun. It was a squirt gun, completely black. Like it was awesome if you wanted to make movies and you wanted to have squirt gun fights. But
I had a cap gun that was looked and felt like a real gun. Like it was like heavy.
yeah, oh
It was
geez,
made of like pure metal. Like it wasn't like any plastic on it.
I don't know if
And
I
it was,
remember
but
that.
it was like it was a cap gun.
yeah, it's a toy.
Like, fast forward, 20 years later, if I had that cap gun, I would be shot
Yeah,
somewhere.
I'm playing. So they're of course putting money into the register because he knows how to open the register. He knows how to use the world's oldest
Well,
register too.
he
From
works
the
part time at
1950s.
the toy store, I think, while he's renovating because
he must.
he has a real love for the toys there. He's like, knows the prices, knows what they usually go for.
Yep.
There's that slime
Obviously.
toy.
Oh.
And he's like, oh, that's usually,
That's right.
that's usually $15 a pop. It's on sale for $8. Get it now. So, he knows the bargain.
He knows everything.
He
And yet,
knows all the inner workings.
you'd think there'd be more crime because they live in a town where the only police officer is 200-year-old Don Knotts, the legend, the Mr. Furley, Barney
Who just
Fife,
happens to be passing by,
right?
staring at
The incredible Mr. Limpet, you name it. Those are the three I mainly know him from. I knew him first from as Mr. Furley on Three's Company. Of course, Barney Fife. I've done an episode of Andy Griffith. That's his legendary role, and that's pretty much what he's doing here the entire time. In fact, they name him. I thought it was a fun joke. They named him Fief, so he's like, it's not Fife, it's Fief.
Yeah, it's spelled the same way.
Right. He's like, if it was Fife, it would be spelled. Oh, is it? Maybe that's the joke I didn't even get.
Well, maybe I thought it was spelled the same way. It's spelled how you would think Fife is spelled.
And he shows up, pulls his gun. Now he should not have a service revolver. He shouldn't be a police officer in this town. Like, plus they don't live in a huge town. You think they might recognize?
I don't know. There was one there. I'm going to take offense what you said because there was one crime happening in this town, and he caught it as soon as it was happening. So
he's out patrolling too. He's out patrolling at midnight on Christmas. Well, it turns out he's a confirmed bachelor, so everyone else must have been with their family on Christmas.
Well, as he said, it's hard to contain the stud, right?
And I think he did the sniff, which is the classic Don Knotts, Barney Fife sniff. But I'm going to take, and as much as I love the references to Barney Fife and Andy Griffith, I take umbrage with this show for not making one reference to him being Mr. Furley with Suzanne Summers' Christmas Snow. That's her character's name on Three's Company. Nothing. At the end of the episode, he cracks a joke, and I wanted her to do that, like a quick laugh. That would have just not one person thought of that. Like the old Chrissy.
It is
Snow
unusual,
laugh.
right? That they didn't. They have this like reunion and they don't do anything with it.
I was waiting. I was like, oh, here it comes, and I was like, it would have gone up 2 or 3 points in my book.
See, what I was hoping would happen was that they would kill off Patrick Duffy and have Don Knotts replace him, kind of like what they did with Kevin James and Leah Remini and Kevin Can Wait, where they just like got rid of the old woman. They were like, here's King of Queens.
That's right. They literally killed her off, didn't they?
Season 4 of Step by Step. Here's Three's Company.
They killed that woman off, and they just made her like a friend who showed up every day constantly. I just watched.
But if they were given a season 3, they
would have got married.
They would have gotten married. Yeah.
I think Kevin Can Wait gives Kevin James a bad rap, which I think goes back on King of Queens, which is a quality show.
I think there are a lot of things that give Kevin James a bad rap. Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Paul Blart, Zookeeper. That's the one. That's
basically his whole like filmography.
Yes. His TV.
I will say, I love King of Queens.
Yeah.
I laugh at that show. I will make a point to watch that show when it's flipping through channels and it's on.
I was taken to task by Chris on the we did the Office episode, but he had to take a few moments to correct my mistakes, my mispronunciations of the toy. What Arthur's dog walker? I thought it was his nurse, and he watches it with his kids. So he showed his daughter. She's like, "Why does he say Mentalo that way? The Mentalo toy. I was calling it Mentalo. I was like, I don't know. Maybe I was thinking like comic books." So that show is well respected on this podcast. It's just I make mistakes. I got a YouTube comment yelling at me. Well, not yelling at me, going, "You do a podcast about this and you don't even know where Tim Taylor gets his grunt from, Tim Allen." I'm like, I guess, yeah. I mean, that's the whole point. I'm watching the show. I'm kind of thinking on my feet.
Well, when you cover so many classic sitcoms, it's
right.
hard to know the origins of everything. And I mean, here we are with you're giving great insight to Three's Company, and they're not capitalizing on it.
Right?
It's just fact.
We've touched Three's Company, Boy Meets World, Baywatch Nights, and a little bit of Step by Step in there in the middle, in here and there as well.
Step by step.
So he arrests them both, brings them both to jail, the smallest jail, and he's the only guy there. I liked when he was booking them how slow he typed. That was a funny joke.
Yeah.
And he had to figure out different things. We find out that Patrick Duffy's Frank does have a record for fishing. He was like, I was just fishing without a license. I'm not sure that would be on his permanent record, but that's okay. While all this is going on, the kids are at home. They will all wake up at 6. They're so greedy. All they do is rip open their gifts, and
don't notice they're gone.
No one noticed. I think Mark brought it up. Is that his name? It's like, where are
and
they?
then they don't care.
They're like, oh well, Mom, Dad, never
mind.
You
lose.
They could have had carbon monoxide poisoning in their bedroom. They could both be dead. Sorry, I got you mid sip, and they wouldn't even notice because they had their windows open. They're all alive. Meanwhile, Frank and Carol are asphyxiated upstairs, gone. Nope. And they're opening their gifts. Oh, Mom and Dad, but they get to keep their gifts. They don't care. So they, they're still at jail. They're trying to appease to Don Knotts. He's not giving in. This is where I stopped taking notes. I have to go by memory. And meanwhile, the kids are like, this is it. These are all our gifts. There's just a ton of garbage everywhere. They like some gifts. The JT doesn't like having a lamp. A study lamp. What am I supposed to do with this? I get it. You're an idiot. Then Cody shows up in his nightshirt and hat, and he's like yelling at. He basically takes them to task. I think that's the second time I use that term for not being in the spirit of Christmas, dude.
Well, Cody, comes across as this dim-witted idiot.
Cowabunga. He's basically like doing a Ninja Turtle. He's doing.
But every episode, who's the voice of reason? Cody.
I take your word for it. I was going to say, is it Cody? It is Cody. I'm right. So they finally get a phone call, and after he talks about what the real meaning of Christmas is, and gets a phone call and finds out that they've been arrested. And so,
he asked for why, and he said, "You robbed the toy store." And he said, "No, I was paying." He goes, "Oh, so you were arrested for to purchase?"
Yeah. See, I like that he had the exact same. He's like, yes, and I like that Patrick Duffy gave Cody enough time to pause, make comments, jokes, put the phone down, bring it back up. Timing was perfect. It was almost like he knew that all the pauses were coming. So turns out they're going to be alone on Christmas, but then all of a sudden we start hearing Christmas carols outside of the prison, outside of the jail, and all the kids show up with fried chicken and I guess fixins. And then
do we think the fried chicken is like improvised Christmas dinner because their parents are in jail?
That's my guess. They on the way there,
or is this
like when we get
the tradition of?
Yeah, I hope that wasn't the like. Oh, good, you got the the bucket of 12 for all of us. They show up. They start. They're singing a song. It's kind of a funny play on whatever the hell the Christmas song is, but they're talking about them being in jail. And they're like, we can be with you. We were being selfish. We apologize. We miss you on Christmas. And Fief was like, now hold on a second there. You got to stand back. But he allows them to not get too close, But then I guess he sees how much they love each other, and he decides to let them out and let them have Christmas dinner together as long as he can join them. Oh, that's right. Carol says, "Why don't you join us?" He's like, "Me? Why would you have me?" And it's like, "Because it's Christmas." And then he lets them out, and then JT grabs his service revolver and shoves him into the cell, and shoots them both knees so that they can all get away. That's what should have happened.
It's basically the scene in Platoon. Dance.
Jesus Christ! Yeah. He hits him, which I just finally watched for the first time, like
Platoon?
a month ago. First time ever for
Yeah.
a podcast, of course. Find movies, find spirits. Find it at fansonexperts.com. That's where Chris is from.
Great movie.
it
Charlie
is.
Sheen's funniest role.
Hot Shots do, and Hot Shots Trey Platoon. Yeah, he was great in that. So that's pretty much the end of the episode. We come back and they're opening. They're sitting around after Christmas. Don Knotts is there as well.
Yeah, as he should be.
As he should be.
He's the new Patrick Duffy now in my head.
He is right, because in your world they killed off Frank, and Fief is the new.
Which I keep wanting to call him Frank Reynolds.
Wait,
Frank Reynolds is
from Sunny.
Yeah, because Frank Reynolds is the only.
That's the Frank. That's the Frank.
That,
you know.
Yeah. Would you like to egg in these trying times?
She starts singing A Christmas Carol. I don't know if they all start singing or if she just starts singing. I was like, oh, some sappy singing. He puts his head on her shoulder. Definitely he wants to look down her blouse. He wants to grab her knee and say,
popping a feel.
That thigh master's working. But instead, I think he just falls asleep. Now, again, I wanted them to be like, Officer Fief, and they lift his arm and he died. He died a happy man. Or they're like, oh my God. And then they go to get help and they come back. They're like, Officer Fief hasn't worked in this town in 25 years since he died. And the whole time he was an angel or Santa or whatever. Instead, he's
and then they say, Happy Halloween.
From all of us, it's Step by Step. Dude. And then there was a clip from Happy Halloween from all of us, but it was from 1991. I said, that doesn't count. This episode's from 93. I can't, in good question, play it. Unfortunately.
That would have been dishonest.
That's it. That should be the end of the episode. That's it. That just ends. We nailed it.
Fans not experts.
We did it. That's the episode of Step by Step. And that's the end of day 22. And that is the end of all my guests. I saved the Brandonist for last, as I had Brandon on, as you know, usually. But last year you were Christmas Eve.
And I feel like I got demoted this year. But
well, you got demoted because
bets for last. You know?
I know. What I could have done is recorded this and saved it for Christmas Eve, but I made
not.
too many promises.
Message received.
I've made too many promises, but I have. I know what my last 3 episodes are, and I'm excited to bring them to you without.
I'm going to guess your last 3 shows. Your last 3 shows are. Let me think here.
Oh, good. Did I tell you one of them? Did I tell you them?
No, I just.
Oh, good. Okay. I thought you were gonna.
One is Silk Stockings.
1 for 1.
2 is La Femme Nikita, and 3 is Highlander. You just chose. USA used to show before and after shows? Monday Night Raw.
Shooter. Remember the Shooter show that was on for a little while?
Of course.
TV show based on
Or Walker Texas Ranger was on for years.
Usually it's some sort of.
I think it was Highlander, movie. Which was the best. Like the credits to Highlander before Raw. I mean, with the Queen song. Here we go.
We're princes of the universe.
Right? I'd be like, all right, now I'm hyped for some wrestling.
I am immortal. I have inside me blood of kings.
And then I think it switched to Walker. I feel like Walker Texas Ranger was like the Attitude Era.
The only episode of Walker Texas Ranger I've ever seen is the clip of Haley Joel Osment having AIDS. Walker said, I have AIDS.
That was one of my favorite things he ever did. the walker lever.
He gets up and he just looks away. He just looks out the window. Yeah.
It's just like, well, it's just silence.
Oh, the
right?
walker. Yeah, he would play clips,
then-
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, we've been holding off on this
This
one.
one.
And then it's just like, oh, how are you? I'm good. Walker says, I have AIDS.
And like, it's not enough that this kid has AIDS and they're addressing it, but it's Walker told him.
Walker says.
Walker told
Like, does
him.
Walker just go around diagnosing all these kids with AIDS?
There was an old episode of Mr. Belvedere where young Wesley had a friend with AIDS, and he comes in. He's like, "How you doing?" He goes, "Well, I have AIDS. Other than that, I'm doing pretty good." And I believe the kid actually was like a real kid who had AIDS at the time. So I think it was like kind of showing, hey, you don't have to be afraid of them. Like they were afraid. Like,
well, this was the era.
Yeah,
this was the AIDS era. You know,
yes, the early.
An episode of Life Goes On, there's a character with AIDS. Remember, they're all like, "Can we catch it? Can we catch it?"
I think that was like a.
And I was like,
character wasn't like that was.
I was
regular,
like in first grade, should not have been watching.
He's like, what am I watching?
And I was like, "Daddy, what's AIDS?"
Well,
said,
son,
no.
and then he put on an episode of Walker Texas Ranger. Well, we did it, Brandon.
We did it.
You did it.
I did. I
did it.
Definitely did it.
We definitely did it.
I'm really proud of myself this year because I watched the episode.
Right. Last year you were just going on memory, and you know Full House, so you did pretty damn well.
I did pretty well.
This year you watched it.
We watched a lot of Full House in my house because of my daughters now, which is between Full House and Fuller House, I would say multiple times a week.
Well, now it's time to maybe bring them on the step-by-step world. Maybe a
If
couple.
If I opened their eyes to all the TGIF goodness, I mean, I think they'd really fall down the rabbit hole. I have tried Boy Meets World, by the way.
They'll be like, "This is why Daddy's like Daddy."
I think they need to be a little bit older to appreciate Boy Meets World.
Oh yes, it's very highbrow.
Very highbrow, very sophisticated.
It's very teen centered.
It is very teen. I feel like when they get like, more tween, it's like, boom, here you go.
Here you go. And then you'll be like, pay attention. Pay attention. This part's great.
Plus, Salem was Saved by the Bell. They're too young to have the talk about caffeine pill addiction.
Yeah, that's good too.
Yeah.
They're too young to be like, why is she so scared? She's excited and she's
I'm
scared.
so excited. Yeah. I'm so scared. You remember, Jesse, when we rode our bikes to see ET?
Jesus. Now we've touched on so many shows. You've covered the gambit. You really are the guy to bring on for these family TGIF shows. Let me ask you. I talked about a show. I gave you a clipping of a show. I said, I think we're all set for 2025. Now, I don't know if you'd want to do that. I don't know if you watched it. I don't even know if it's technically a Christmas show. It's based on a holiday that I think they kind of use it as an analog or a simile metaphor for Christmas, whatever the word is. But is there a show that you would like to do in 2025? If you say it now, you're locked in. As long as it's not The Office or King of the Hill, because those are taken. And possibly Taxi.
I mean,
the Taxi episode.
I mean, really, how much Family Matters have we done?
I did a Family Matters my first year with Jay, my buddy Jay, but he now, he's introducing me to all the King of the Hill shows, and there's many more of those to go. So I believe Family Matters is open, and repeat episodes are legal with guests. So
I would be down for Family Matters. I'd be down for the show that you sent me. There's got to be a Christmas episode of that, whether it's the one you sent me or not.
Oh, yes, that should, right. Yeah, I will see if there's another Christmas. That would be fun to do just because of how bizarre
and that one
is.
too,
we could talk about the finale.
I feel like Family Matters I've seen since my childhood, because they show reruns all the time. But the other show
I've never seen an episode.
I don't think I've seen since my childhood.
See, so that would be fun to do. And what is that show, ladies and gentlemen? Well, you're just gonna have to wait a goddamn year to find out. That's called a tease in the biz.
That's how we got them. We got them.
They're coming back. You better come back.
Notifications on now.
Yes. So the nice thing is tomorrow's episode. I'm going to probably say something nice about you in tomorrow's episode, and I will have been correct in what I will probably say in tomorrow's episode.
Even though I'm about to say something atrocious.
Even though there's nothing you could possibly do that to ruin what I probably would say about you tomorrow, how good you were doing, because that's what the edit button's for.
Huh.
So I better shut this down pretty quick. So listen, Brandon, really quick, ladies and gentlemen, I will be back tomorrow for the final 3 episodes of Sitcom All Ye Faithful. But until then, you can find me on Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, Mastodon.social, and still on Twitter at Geek Mentality. The TikTok is Geek Mentality Mike. The Facebook page is Fans Not Experts. The YouTube channel is Fans Not Experts because the website is fansnotexperts.com. You can find every episode of Metallicast there as well, and Man Meets World. Those are all available on the YouTube channel as well. Brandon,
I highly don't recommend Man Meets World, though. It's a man meeting podcasting.
It is the beginning of that, and I remember that was such a pain in the ass because you literally would just record the audio, send it to me, and I put the show together. I found the clips, I found the music, and then you slowly started learning how to do it. I think we moved you to Anchor, and you were or maybe that was Metallicast. Even I was uploading those for a while. Oh my God, it takes a village, ladies and gentlemen.
Does take a village.
A village and a village idiot. So sorry, that was just from I used that from a show that I did yesterday, Raising Hope, which is a show you should watch. I recommend. It's on Hulu.
Okay.
Anyway, you're not a village idiot. I'm going to say wonderful things about you tomorrow, probably. But is there anything that you would like to promote? Talk about anything on social that you want to be found? I know I see you on Blue Sky.
No, what do I want to promote?
What's that?
World's peace.
World's peace, like the world's like,
and happiness. I just wanted to end with this message. God bless everyone.
That's pretty good. I was wondering. Wait, what?
It.
It got cut off there.
That's a joke for one.
Yes, because it really sounds like you said, God bless everyone white. So I hope that's not what you just said. You said Wyatt, right? Ladies and gentlemen, he was doing a wrestling joke and it didn't quite land. So let's, just for clarification, say it one more time.
God bless everyone. Wyatt.
Thank you. Yes. Really enunciate those two syllables there. Wyatt is an old joke. And just to give you context, we did a wrestling podcast, and for some reason, some listener found us and said, I'd love to be on your show. And he was a British guy. And I was like, this kid was probably 17. And I'm at this point, if not in my 30s, I'm in my 40s at this point. And I'm like making sure everything's right. I'm like, okay, we got to do this. We were doing like Google Chat Hangout at the time. Got to hit record, all these things. And Brandon, you're ready to go. And then Brandon goes on, and he's the complete asshole the entire time. He's like barely on. Half of his head showing, and there's a wrestler, the late great Bray Wyatt, and Brandon was just saying Wyatt the whole time. And the guy's like, what's going on? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm like having to apologize to him. I'm annoyed and loving it all at the same time. It's somewhere on the website.
I think when he was talking to, didn't I take the Anchorman joke and go, you know, I don't speak Spanish.
Some awful thing. It was like, and I just kept like being frustrating and being like, and this is one thing I'm like, this is going to be bad for our show. like I think it mattered. But that's somewhere on fansnotexperts.com. You can find that there
somewhere.
And someday maybe Metallicast will be back, and someday we might do our Cousins podcast. All someday.
The Cousins podcast was fun.
That was Cousins, really awesome podcast. Crap.
Yeah.
We had another one did we record an episode and never promote it?
That's my ideal podcast these days because it takes zero planning.
That's kind of what we almost did 90% of this podcast.
Yeah.
So we should.
I still had to watch Frank and Cody for.
You had to, or you got to?
All the above.
Exactly. All right, Brandon, thank you so much. Go back to watching Sunday Night Football.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you and your family. I'll be back tomorrow. Brandon will be back next year. But until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. I'm going to cough, so I got to say this really quick. Here is my theme song. This is my podcast. I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time, and I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fast, not experts.